New at 11, an Atlanta police officer is expected in court tomorrow after he was arrested for a home invasion in Henry County. Channel 2's Nefertiti Jacquez live outside the Locust Grove Police Department. So, Neff, investigators say that he threatened a family.
Justin, detectives here say that the officer drove some 30 miles from his home in Jonesboro here to Locust Grove. And then, allegedly, a few hours after he committed this crime, they tell us that they arrested him at APD headquarters. He was recently sworn in to protect and serve, and now this Atlanta police officer is facing felony charges, accused of busting into a Henry County home and threatening his ex-fiancée and her family.
He probably doesn't care that he's a police officer.
Months after hitting the streets, Officer Philip Barisi is accused of kicking down the door of a home here along Draba Lane and forcing his way inside, all while in uniform. We went to the officer's home in Jonesboro after he bonded out of jail, but no one answered.
Cops like him give good cops a bad name.
Renee Carter, who lives 2 doors down, tells us she's stunned.
Just the fact that you would go home and put on your uniform and then go to someone's house and do that, it's kind of like saying, I'm a cop. I can do whatever I want.
Locust Grove police say on November 28th, the rookie cop kicked down the front door to where his former fiancée was staying with her sister and parents. Once inside, the victim and her family told police that Barasi put his hand on his service weapon. The family called 911 and Barasi allegedly took off. This report shows Barasi told detectives he accidentally kicked the door open. He told them he regretted his actions but was extremely upset because his ex broke into his home first. When asked if he filed a police report, he said he was trying to keep the police out of the situation, but some neighbors say they aren't necessarily buying his story.
You don't accidentally kick someone's door with force. There's no way to accidentally kick a door open. You wanted to get in.
Now, we also reached out to the Atlanta police, and Sergeant Warren Picard tells us that the officer has been relieved of duty and is on paid administrative leave until further notice. Meantime, that officer will face a judge tomorrow morning at 8:30. That is the very latest from Locust Grove. Nefertiti Jacquez, Channel 2 Action News Nightbeat.
And we do want to share with you the victim in Nefertiti's story is a family member of a Channel 2 Action News employee.
Uniformed Atlanta cop yelled "F da police" while committing home invasion against ex's family after kicking down the door to the house of his ex-fiancée's family. Officer Philip Baresi yelled "Fuck da police" in response to her father mentioning that they should call the police. The Atlanta police rookie, who was not on duty at the time, was however in full uniform and reportedly was holding his hand on his department-issued gun during the time he was inside the house. Baresi later claimed that he accidentally kicked the door open and regretted his actions. He also attempted to justify his actions by saying that he was extremely upset because his ex-fiancée, who has not been publicly identified, broke into his house. The victim, however, stated that she had not broken into his house, but had visited his house to retrieve some of her and her baby's possessions, which she had left at the house when moving out. Baresi had to drive about 30 miles from his home in Jonesboro to reach the house where his ex-fiancée was living with her parents and sister. Officer Baresi has only been with the Atlanta Police Department since March of this year. The charges against him include home invasion and second-degree criminal damage to property. The attack was committed on November 28. He has since been placed on paid vacation until the department and district attorneys are finished going through the motions of prosecuting him and a judge sentences him, most likely as part of some plea deal that guarantees he will only get probation. Via the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Officer Philip Baresi, a Jonesboro resident, drove to a home in Locust Grove where his ex-fiancée was staying with her sister and parents, according to a police report. Police said Baresi kicked down the door, forced his way inside the Draba Lane home, and threatened the woman and her family. A male resident of the house said he heard the doorbell ring repeatedly, then heard someone kicking at the door 4 times. The door then broke open, the report said. The resident saw Baresi in his AB uniform come into the home with his hand on his gun and yell out several things, some of which he could not remember because he was so frightened, the report said. The resident's wife said her husband asked her to call police, the report said. She then heard Baresi say, "Expletive, da police," then he ran out the front door, The report said, "While I support people's right to say fuck the police, even the police themselves, the whole putting your uniform on, driving 30 miles, accidentally kicking your ex's door down, and then running around making threats with your hand on your gun thing is probably a bit of a warning sign. Especially, since cops are at least 4 times as likely to abuse their children and/or wives than the average person is. In all likelihood, it's just a matter of time before he ends up getting fired for some sort of domestic battery incident from the next department he gets hired at after he is allowed to resign from the apt."